Hello, everyone. Thank you for waiting. Technical difficulties aside, we can now start the lightning talk. With that in mind, I'm going to start the task of trying to condense a 40-minute talk under 10 minutes. So now I'm under duress. Let's start. So my name, I can go longer, but okay, I'll just try, mentally keeping it at 10. So my name is Genina Poe. I'm with Emerging Threats. It's a company team within Proofpoint. You can find me online as Bingo Hot Dog. If you ever find yourself feeling a bit of a whirlwind as I talk today, you can always come and talk to me about the content that I'll be condensing here right now. Before I go into the talk, a little shout out to my teammate that wasn't able to give a presentation today. He is Tony Robinson, and he was going to talk about honey token IDS rules and making better use of the ET info rules to catch anomalies. His slides are available online, actually. So if you have any questions about his content, please reach out to him. He'd love to talk to you. So on the agenda today, I'm going to briefly talk about my team, talk about the content about phishing, and we're going to talk about the meat or the fish of the day. It's going to be about role toll smishing. I'll talk about the research, detections, and takedowns related to that. And finally, I'll talk about the takeaways and QA portion of the presentation. So a little bit about our team. We're a static detections team. We have the following research areas, such as malware, maldocs, mobile, phishing, and in general, we're looking for any exploits that could happen in services online. That research gets turned into SuriCata rules and snort rules, but SuriCata rules are what get created. And you might be familiar with our ET Pro and ET Open rules. We do have commercial customers as well as the open source community. I do enjoy talking to the open source community members who give us feedback on our discourse, because it's always interesting to see how our rules are interacting in their environment and what help they need as a home user. Or perhaps you're a university student trying to do research, trying to understand how to apply detection on your traffic. I'm open to talking to you and helping you finish your project so you can graduate. So going back to the top, we do research. We find interesting stuff from our internal data, but we also get tips and tricks from the online community, such as blogs, discourse, Twitter. We take that information, we try generating traffic, we try creating situations in which the exploit might exist, and then we try hunting for further exploitations in the monitoring infrastructure tools that we have. So when we create these rules, we are testing within a corpus of PCAPs. We have a lot of friends who are willing to give us PCAPs so we can tell whether or not we're going to FP on the internet or if we're going to FN on the big bad things that we were supposed to write SIGs on. We do maintain those rules. We have about 200K of them. So if you ever have any feedback on how we're FPing or how we could do better, we'll take care of that. We'll also retire old rules that are no longer relevant. They'll still exist in the rule set, but they'll just be labeled a little bit differently. And yeah. So to go back to the state of Phish, for those who are not familiar, at Proofpoint, there's a survey where we talk to users and professionals and just ask them, like, hey, what are things that are happening in your data? And I wanted to point out one specific attack that people were talking about. Between 2023 and 2022, there was smishing. Smishing was a topic that existed. It never changed between the previous and the year previous, between the 2 years. And when I saw that stat, it made me think about how texting and SMS has been around for a long time, and yet we still have no better detections than we did when smishing first started. So at this point, my mind is open to the possibility of creating detections on smishing. I'm hoping to find something cool and interesting to work on. I'm waiting for the universe to give me something. And luckily, the universe did give me something. And it is in the form of role toll smishing. So let's learn how to catch a fish. So earlier this year, the FBI released this following report. They said that folks in the United States were getting the following text message. Hey, you have a fee. You must pay for it, and if you don't pay for it, we're going to multiply that fee. Please go to this URL. The content of this toll service was always related to your area code. So I live around the SF Bay area. You'll see in the next slide how the smishing message was related to a toll service in the Bay Area. I also did a little query into how many toll services existed in the United States, or exist. There's 251 names. So that means there's 251 services that are going to get impacted by this. That was a good announcement, but I really didn't need it because my friends and family were already sending me text messages like this. They were asking me, hey, is this real? Should I do something about it? I don't want to pay a toll. I clicked on their URLs, and yeah, the landing pages look pretty legitimate. When I did a query on Reddit, I noticed that it was a statewide issue. And so from there, I collected all this information and decided, like, hey, we should probably do something about it. It looks messy. I like mess. Let's do something. And that brings us to phishing analysis. So if anyone could raise their hands if you've ever done any phishing analysis, click the link, explored some phishing before. Hands, hands, hands. Thank you for self-reporting. Your companies will look into your activity at your computer very soon. Jokes aside, it sounds like we're within good company. Phishing analysis, as you might be familiar with, takes really two parts. First, it's dynamic. We're going to interact with the Phish in the sandbox. We're going to be our IT company's worst nightmare. We're going to click on it. We're going to enter personal information. We're going to enter credit card information, all in hopes that we extract the exfiltration behavior from interacting with this Phish. Then create rules, specifically post rules, to capture this behavior, then signal to these companies and teams that, hey, your user has now become a victim. Please do something about it. Static, we're going to slow down that sandbox activity and look at the PCAP like it's a frame within a painting. The idea is that we're going to look at each moment, look at the HTML, decide if it's interesting to sig on, all in hopes that we're going to find all this Phish in our network preemptively before any phishing activity has occurred. And finally, we're going to then use that information to find Phish kits. I say all of this in a way to encourage you to write your own rules. The idea is that what I'm explaining right now is not something that only I am able to do. Everyone is able to do the research and threat hunting that I'm showing today. So with that in mind, I'm going to give an example of how to interact with the Phish URL. Before I play this sandbox video, where I use any run, I will summarize what is happening. We go to the URL. We are met with a reCAPTCHA challenge. We are then given a prompt. And then we're going to enter personal information, credit card information, and a success. And we're going to meet with the next expert. So this is a very fast video. Boom, reCAPTCHA. We're looking at a North Carolina form. I'm entering information about someone that I don't know. Here's the confirmation prompt. Again, here's some more information that I'm just entering at random. I'm using the state capital of North Carolina at this point to provide address. And there we go. There's an email that I'm going to fake on the spot. I should probably use a different fake email. But yeah, at that point, we're also entering more information about this person. To make it a little faster, I'll just skip to the static analysis portion. The interesting part about this Phish, we look at the landing page. We looked at our CAPTCHA, right? You think that you can't write a rule on Google, but you can. If you look at the implementation itself, they use a very simple implementation, and they use the word red, an AJAX callback, and also this PHP string. And also, if we look at the forms, it's kind of meh. The HTML is not written, it's not that sophisticated. So at this point, I think we can write a lot of rules. I'm going to abbreviate the following portion, but the idea is that all these tools that I mentioned here are all open source, and you can use them to do your own threat hunting. We use URL scan. I confirm that the landing page is very unique, and I can use this to hunt for more. I use domain tools and Iris, domain tools Iris and Census to understand the infrastructure of the Phish, and I also am able to monitor new instances of the domains that pop up that hurt people and their agencies. And then I use VirusTotal to find Phish kits. And this is great. I was able to chat with other folks about the research that I was doing. And it sounds like our Phish was related to lab host Phish and phishing as a service. So if we look closely at what we're seeing, there's a text, you're met with a few forms. It looks very familiar to the fish that we've been looking at. However, if you notice, this announcement is being released the same time the FBI released the announcement that US folks were getting attacked. So it makes you question, who exactly are these people? So if they're already being stopped, who are the folks that are creating the new fish kits today? My public friendly answer is that there are many faces that are filling the void. At this time, we can just label them as bulls or CAPTCHA, because I just named them based on the code that they implemented on the HTML page. With that in mind, I stop pivoting, I write rules, and those rules look as the following. In ET, there should be these rules that are no longer pro, they should be open. If you look for anything that says bulls or CAPTCHA, that's the type of fish that we're looking for. This is what you can use to understand if your network is being affected by this. Keep in mind, so we saw this for US folks. The lab host affects EU folks. I do believe that if you are an EU travel toll agency, you might be able to use these rules to help protect your brand. And there are also some post rules too for the people who have become victims of phishing. Yeah, that's pretty much how you catch a fish. You find something, you do a bunch of analysis, and you write detections. Anyone can do it in this room. If you have any questions and you want to submit rules to ET, please do. You can find us on our discourse. And if you have any ways you want to contact me, those are my socials. And that ends the lightning talk. Thank you very much.
Hi, I have a question here. What's the percentage of HTTP versus HTTPS traffic you see to phishing websites? I wonder if it's still relevant in HTTP.
What are the differences, you say?
Like how much phishing cases do you see using HTTPS versus HTTP, because then the visibility would be different from a defender perspective?
I feel like we have a good chunk of each. I mean, like for me also, like Proofline has the sandbox that decrypts most of the traffic, so sometimes I don't really have to think about it. I just have like content to work on, and I just work on that for detection.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. I had a question, like, if you create those rules as informative at the beginning, or do they start blocking?
For me, I would say that they start off informative in the sense that we have all these PCAPs that we can test, my idea. And as I feel more comfortable that my rules are not going to FP, then I will release them as phishing. But for the most part, I do have some instances where I do release hunting rules. So I can just kind of monitor the traffic that gets fed back to our systems. And from there, yeah, so like, there's a flow. Usually I don't aggressively add rules, but sometimes I might, depends on my mood.
So eventually those rules will become as blocking ones within some time.
When do they become blocking?
Like when you make sure that they work properly. Is it correct?
In terms of when, sorry, can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, so for example, this specific fish, you created about 5 rules, and you mentioned that you created them as informative rules. It means, as I understood it, they will not block this communication, they will just pop up as information. Will those rules within some time be converted into the blocking rules?
Okay, so to clarify what I was saying in terms of transitioning between rules, the rules were written as phishing, so they should block. I transitioned them from ET Pro, the paid, to the open rule set. So now anyone that has ET open is able to benefit from this fish blocking rule set.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
You mentioned a rise in smishing. Have you seen an increase in vishing, specifically related to spoofed phone calls leveraging AI to mimic known voices? And if so, how do you combat that?
So I work with a colleague that works a lot with pig butchering. So it's the type of phishing where they send you something on WhatsApp saying, like, do you know anything about Bitcoin? So it seems that, well, just based on what I've seen, it's mostly call centers that are doing it. I haven't really seen a lot of phishing, but it does appear that people feel that that is something that's happening. I just haven't seen it in my data. Thanks. Yeah.
I have a question from someone online. How are you testing the false positive rate for signatures covering this activity? Are you sticking them on live traffic, or do you have offline peak outs for testing?
Usually, we do get feedback from the community on if there's any FP issues. I would also say that I have to do some self-monitoring. So like I might put my rules out and I might monitor what's showing up on VirusTotal or what be showing up on any run to kind of help monitor anything that's going on. A little shout out there is like if you have any FPs, please let us know. For the most part, we really value community feedback on how we could do better with our rules. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a question a bit related to the initial question on HTTP, HTTPS. I see that you are using some metadata, my glasses, in my glasses, TLS state, TLS decrypt, and then deployment SSL decrypt. Which one should we follow if we want to build a rule set that is dedicated to decrypted traffic?
Which rule set will be able to help users look at decrypted traffic, you said?
No, because you have a signature that are dedicated to decrypted traffic, like this one mostly. I think it was HTTPS website at the origin. So my question is, you are using metadata in the signature definition to indicate that it has to be used on decrypted traffic.
Yes.
So my question is, I've seen two of them. Which one should we use?
I guess like I can't think about it on the top of my head, but if you look at the metadata for each of the rules, it should tell you if it's you should consider decrypt traffic.
Yeah, but I see TLS underscore state and deployment SSL decrypt. So which one should I pick?
Oh gosh. How about we look at offline so we can see?
Perfect.
Thank you.
I have another question from online. What is your source of telemetry for hunting potential phishing domains, links?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends on what I'm looking for. For the most part, I do recommend that folks just, I feel like URL scan is one of the best ways to just look at interesting things that are happening lately.
Just URL scan?
Yeah, URL scan. I mean, there are other like big lists that are out there, like Phish Tank and stuff, but I found that URL scan has been really interesting in what's been popping up. So that's very accessible for most folks online.